What's going on, workforce? Brian here, and welcome to Live Letter Marathon Day. We're talking about PvP changes. In fact, the PvP system's been freaking overhauled in Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood, so let's just do this thing. So during the live letter, Yoshi-P detailed PvP changes after he talked about all the PvE changes. In fact, PvP changes are being completely redone. In fact, the system of PvP is a whole new system, and so I wanted to give you that information. Whether you've PvP'd before or you've never PvP'd, hopefully Stormblood and the changes will make it both more inviting, more interesting, and more dynamic. So to start, he details out the current issues with PvP. First, the level restriction to get in is too high. Pretty much PvP starts around 60. That's where everybody's doing the content. So to change it, they're letting you in as soon as you have a job unlocked, which is around level 30. There's too many job actions. You've got your PvE job actions, and you have these specific PvP job actions, and so you just have a ton of job actions, and a lot of them really added no value to PvP. PvP isn't PvE, and so to have those two type of systems really kind of set you up for failure. Namely that PvP is a system about bursting and burst damage, meaning you want to hit somebody hard and fast and quick. And PvE is really built for long, sustainable fights. And so those two type of systems just don't make sense. There's an Actionpoint Disparity. So essentially, veteran players who've been into PvP for a long time, they've got extra skills, they have things that make them better, so anybody coming into the system is immediately at a disadvantage. And they did this because they wanted some kind of thing to reward players for playing, they wanted some kind of progression system for players who were playing, and it ended up being something that made it hard for new players to come and participate. And lastly, the overly complexity of the controls. Like with positionals and all these things that were really built off around PvE, you had a system that just didn't work. And so they said, all right, let's just redo it from the ground up. And that's what they did. So like I said, level restriction removal starts at level 30. It actually starts when you unlock your job, which happens at level 30. And that's when you can get in and start doing PvP. So PvP attributes are actually determined by your role, and those roles are mirrored from PvE. So you have your tanks, your healers, your melee DPS, your ranged DPS, and your casters. So your stats are based off of your role. Gear will only affect your visual appearance. So if you're a caster, you're going to have the same stats as everybody else. Gear does not have any effect on how you enter into this world, and that, I think, makes it even and makes it fair. You have PvP hotbars for every job. What this means is you go into a PvP area like the Wolf's Den and you see a little hotbar switching to PvP. That means it's all your PvP actions. You don't have to have and mess with any PvE actions. It's a separate system. They did this, and I think it makes a lot of sense because that as they move forward from here on a PvP perspective, it's going to make it a lot easier to manage and to balance. And so what this means is, and people have asked me because I've done some PvP guides, because you could go and flag certain, hotbars to only show up in PvP areas. That's not going to necessarily need to be the case anymore because you're going to have separate hotbars for your PvP. If that doesn't make sense, I'll try to give more detail like in the comments below, but hopefully it resonates and it rings a bell and you're excited about it because I'm excited about it. So all PvP actions are PvP specific. Even if you have something like Heavy Thrust, it's actually a PvP version of Heavy Thrust, so that's going to have their own actions, and so they can make adjustments to PvP without ever impacting the PvE experience or the system or having to worry about it. Again, they've separated them completely, and this is really good news, and they show this off. So you're going to get specifically 9, maybe 10, they said there's a case where you might have 10 actions, as a base level for your job, and then you can pick 2 additional actions, and then you can pick from 3 additional traits. So your options are what are your different actions, but everything, you have those 9 that are base, you have your 2 that you get to pick from the list on your roll, and then you have 3 traits. And so what this means is that you have some levels of customization. You have something that is going to make your character, while at the same time it's even. It's an even playing field. You can pick from the same traits as somebody else. You can pick from the same role actions as somebody else, and then you have the same actions yourself. So it's going to be about who uses those better and who uses better strategy in the match, as opposed to who picks out of the 30 different crazy actions the right one. They're also removing the directional requirement, especially for melee DPS. So you're going to be able to do your combos and do your actions, and you're not going to be penalized because of the direction, because there's a lot of movement that happens in PvP that doesn't really happen in PvE. And because of that, they wanted to be more movement focused, more fluid. And so what they show off is the ability that they have these combos. And so you have basically 4 your actions that are just merged into one. And every time you press the button, it will automatically move you to the next combo in the same position. So this will, this will be more button mashy as it feels. You'll obviously use your abilities, but as far as your combos and your damage goes, you're going to have that fast-paced action excitement. For me on a controller, I really can't wait to see how this feels. And he was showing a lot of Dragoon during this, and he said that you'll notice the Dragoon no longer has a stun. So you'll need to communicate with like your tank to be able to stun the target so that they make sure they can pull off their big move, so that the target doesn't run out of the way. I don't know if there's a cross-roll stun, but it might be something that you have to make that decision on whether to take it or not. We'll obviously learn more when we get hands-on here in less than a month. But there just seems to be a lot of really good thought into this. And so as a part of that, though, obviously they might have to make a lot of changes. And so at the start of 4.0, they're going to be looking at all the PvP stuff as this pre-seasonal event system in which that you can, we can play it, we can test it, they can make adjustments to it before they officially kick off Season 5 of the Feast for Stormblood. And then he goes on to say that Black Mage and PvP, and then he goes on to say that Black Mage and PvP feels completely different, namely that I think it seems like it's going to be a lot more fun to play. I'm very interested in what Chris thinks about it when he gets his hands on. He was telling me, like via text as we were texting back and forth during all of this, he's like, I want to play Red Mage, but they keep making Black Mage sound way more interesting, so he might end up sticking with his Black Mage for PvP. So that pretty much wraps up what they showed off with the PvP system changes and all that. Let me know in the comments below what you think, if this seems like the right move for PvP. Whether you've done it or not, or you've tried it and it didn't work out. Hopefully 4.0 brings a lot of fun and a lot of interesting PvP options to the table. I know I'll be there checking it out, hopefully being able to be competitive and have some fun with both randoms and with my friends. So obviously I'll give you those details when we have them as well. But anyway, for Work to Game, my name's Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. I do hope to see you in my next. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to check out any other videos, you should click over here. And then we've got like some kind of vlog thing down here in the corner. And then we've got like subscribe. Yeah, like that's really, you should totally do it. This was a complete disaster.